I left Spain for the States last year. After 2 weeks, I'd had it. Everything was way too expensive for what it was. People were super on edge. Also, Florida had become a permitless concealed carry state, so my gun stress level was way above 10. I used to spend my free time at Disney World and Universal Studios because everyone has to go through metal detectors just to get in. If I bothered to go to the movies, it'd be at one of their theaters. You would think, since Florida is so hot and humid, that you'd notice a concealed weapon. You're wrong. Florida man is a meme for a reason. During that trip, I did not recognize the place that I had spent the bulk of my life. The cost of everything felt smothering. I cannot imagine why those Afrikaners would up in their lives to start over here. Flying in, that's the first red flag. I'm no snowflake, but US airspace is not a safe place. Air traffic control radar keeps having blackouts. As a former flight attendant of 9 years, I want you to understand something. The airspace near an airport is like a massive highway interchange at rush hour. Planes are like cars. Instead of merging from left or right, they come from above and below in all angles. Not even one of those multi-junction interchanges can compete with air traffic near the airport. Unlike the highway, the airport has traffic cops. But when air traffic control lost their radar, that cop was blindfolded. Pilots can't check their rear view and side mirrors to see what's happening. All they have is their radar to tell them what planes are in the area. It's like if you needed to change lanes and suddenly you lose your side and back windows, but your GPS works and LiDAR is telling you that there are cars nearby. How high or low they are, how fast or slow they are, all of it is an issue for pilots. You already know how difficult it is to merge onto a highway interchange. Now, imagine doing that at over 100 miles an hour. The most dangerous part of every flight is between the ground and 10,000 feet. That is every time the plane is near the airport. That alone would have turned me off to flying into the US. The other turn off is the cost. I went back for a month because I had to wrap up some loose ends. It was like financial whiplash. It's not just that the prices were higher, it's that the higher prices seemed normalized. It felt as though my money had no power. I spent over $100 to make dinner for 4 people. That was food from scratch, and I didn't even need to buy spices. Everything there was just much more expensive than when I'd left. The insurance for my house had more than doubled. The car insurance had shot up more than 50%. My property taxes went up too. The houses in my area were now completely unaffordable. I love it when people tell you to sell your house to extract all the value out of it, and then they never seem to know where you're supposed to live after you've sold it. Imagine coming from South Africa thinking it's going to be great, I'm good at budgeting, then getting here and finding out that expenses here are unpredictable. You'll get your internet. It's very affordable at $49 a month. And then 6 months later, the price jumps to $89 a month because that's how your contract works. And that same contract you're locked into for the next 2 years. Then you realize that resettling grant won't go very far. That's after you found out that you don't get the money directly, but through the resettling service. I tried hard to find out how much they'd be provided. I wanted to understand their motivation for making such a big move. It appears that the US Department of Health and Human Services hasn't updated their website to reflect the Afrikaners, but the Amerikaners website reflects what they're expecting. At least they'll have 12 months of insurance, and that's way more than a lot of Americans have access to. You'd think that if you can make it work abroad, that you could do it anywhere. But the US financial system isn't built for simplicity. It's really built for extraction. In many countries, your healthcare, your housing, education aren't profit centers. In the US, they are. I wasn't returning to the town I'd left. I was re-entering a sort of monetized economy that penalized me for leaving. It's where everything has this hidden cost. But most people don't realize the US penalizes your absence. It can impact your credit score. I've seen it personally. Imagine starting from zero, starting from scratch. Your score is low. And then they might not even consider your work experience. You'll be locked out of basic things until you establish your financial identity, which can take years. Then there's the wealth culture. It's performative, it's expensive. There's almost a cultural pressure to perform stability even when you don't have it. I mean, it's as simple as living in the right neighborhood. You can literally go broke trying to look like you're not. When I went back, I thought it was to a place that I knew, but I was wrong. It was a completely different economic America. It was a place that I hadn't learned to survive in yet. I'd like to say that inflation changed the price of everything, but I realized that the cost of production aren't what's impacting the prices these days. It's greedflation. Greedflation is a villain. Companies have taken advantage. They raise prices and they blame those rises on inflation. It's made the cost of survival pretty much impossible. This version of the US wasn't familiar to me. It was a version that had evolved without me in it. Thankfully, I was there to tie up some loose ends. I was only in the States for a little more than a month. Like I mentioned before, I was over it after only 2 weeks. But what if I had to move back permanently? I'd have to approach how I budget and manage my money in a completely different way. I mean, we can call it budgeting or we can call it survival math. Most people in the US are paying just to exist. With so many people looking for employment right now, I can't imagine how low salaries are. Let me know if you've noticed a change in salaries for new jobs. So, with my expectations on salaries, the numbers won't work unless I figure out some hacks to the system. I definitely try and find a place to live that's 30% of my salary take home pay. I mean, that's what the experts tell us we're supposed to do. But to be frank, I'm confident that I wouldn't find anything in a decent area for less than 50% of my take home. I have to rent out a room to help with my expenses, or maybe I could live in a storage unit. With food, healthcare, and transportation costing what they do, I mean, this only makes sense. I can be as disciplined as a monk, but if my expenses outpace my income, I drown in debt. Budgeting can only optimize what exists. It cannot fix an income shortfall. Even though I hate it with a passion, I would definitely negotiate my expenses. I would try to do it with everything: rent, phone, insurance, subscriptions, whatever. The worst that could happen is that they say the price is the price. A lot of Americans think that prices are fixed. They're not. Most of us are trained not to ask for a lower price. We're trained to feel uncomfortable with negotiating. I mean, how many times have we accepted jobs without negotiating pay? I know I've done it a few times. We really have to focus on the value per dollar rather than just the price, because every dollar you have has a mission for you. That mission isn't just for you to pass that money along to someone else. That mission is for you to have enough money for your safety and security. You really need to set up a system that tracks your money without needing your constant energy. Automate your savings, of course, but automate your bills too. But you have to set up a system to verify that the money that you're paying is actually correct. You don't want to pay more than what's due. We want to make a system where we can take the thinking out of a lot of things. Otherwise, all that thought will just wear you out. And you know, you're already tired from work. I think we can all cut 3 to 5 things from our spending that don't bring actual value. Maybe it's a subscription here and there. Maybe it's convenient spending. I mean, it really doesn't matter. The goal is to create a little breathing room. I'm still cutting subscriptions from the US. I used to pay a year or two for each subscription, so some will come up as a surprise. Isn't there a subscription service to help you get rid of your subscriptions? That doesn't make sense to me, but okay. I'd look into a basic personal finance course. I'm sure YouTube has a ton. The more you understand the system, the less it controls you. I definitely build up an emergency fund, even if it's small. I'd aim for 1 month of expenses first, just to get started. I think this video is a great resource for that. And because I'm still burdened by the cost of education, I'd create a debt payoff plan. Even if it's only paying off $20 a week, it'd give me a direction. Debt is weight and I want it off of my shoulders. Once I'm about 6 months in, I want to check in on my progress. How much have I saved? What debts have I reduced? Have I figured out ways to increase my income? Have I figured out ways to decrease expenses? I want to look at what's working and then adjust what's not. And then I'd set fresh goals for the next 6 months based on what I learned. I'd look at every part of my strategy: what worked, what didn't, what needs refining. I couldn't imagine starting this process coming from a place that isn't war-torn. Having no credit score is the biggest barrier to entry. It often makes it hard to just get a job in the US. When I returned to Spain after that trip, I was relieved. It actually helped me to get over the funk that I'd found myself in leading up to that trip. I'd been feeling a bit useless and uninspired. I was still judging my worth by standards I no longer agreed with. That trip was the ice bath that I actually needed. This experience helped me to understand how, for a long time, money was a driver for many things with me. And now I've found different ways to gain fulfillment. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you again very soon. Bye.